for joining me today on the Financial Planner Life podcast. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you, Sam?
I'm really good. Yeah. Busy morning again. I've managed to book a podcast on the same day that I've got childcare. So my daughter is currently outside the window again on YouTube, destroying her brain.
Oh, bless. The ever juggling of childcare. Work-life balance, they call it, apparently.
Work-life balance. Yeah. It was funny last week because I did a post on it, actually, and it did really well because I took my daughter. We went after the podcast recording. It was our PT session, like our company PT session. So I have a PT every Monday at 11. And the guys come over and we go out and we do a session down the park, and she come and joined us on that one. So we did a video talking about flexible working and being able to bring your daughter to work and how flexible it was, and how things have changed. And it went down an absolute storm. People loved it, guys, and I think a lot of guys relate to it because men tend to feel, I think, more anxious about wanting to look after their children during the school holidays, or even things like wanting to leave work at a specific time to be able to pick their children up. For some reason, I speak to a lot of men over the years that have a real anxiety about that, especially when the business doesn't seem to be as favorable historically towards men looking after their children as they are women.
Yeah, I agree 100%. We don't have children myself, but my husband obviously works in a corporate background. And yeah, for him, it's very much, I think he feels a bit more of the pressure around, being kind of presentable and being in an office environment. And obviously, having, and bless him, it's in the sweltering heat when he's kind of door shut, noise, no noises and things like that. And it's about showing a sense of professionalism. But I think it's becoming, the barriers are down a little bit more now, which I think was one of the huge advantages of the pandemic in terms of, people connecting on a real level and realizing that there are some things that are unavoidable, but they shouldn't be frowned upon. Actually, it is part of your life. And fortunately for me, actually, my clients want to know me. And so a lot of our conversations professionally have always incorporated, who we are as people, and as you do within your role, it's kind of getting to know people, which is the main reason why I absolutely love what I do. But from I think an industry and across all sectors and industries now, people are more having the conversations around what does work and home look like for you, and shaping that and integrating that within work as well. So hopefully that's something that will stick moving forward.
I think as well, it's just that ability to share responsibility within the family unit. Historically, what used to fall at the feet of women, for example, like looking after children, it's no longer that way. And, as men and women and couples, regardless of sex, are reliant upon a specific level of income, for example, now, each have their own levels of responsibility to look after their, the cost of their house and all that kind of stuff. So things like childcare needs to be spread out across both, as opposed to falling at the feet of just one or the other.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's the age old, kind of the insurance question, isn't it? And around kind of, I guess, from a point of view as two incomes coming in or one income from the main breadwinner, actually the cost of having to replace the kind of second spouse or the kind of second person within the relationship. Can you hear my dog?
That's your dog, yeah. Exactly. Even looking after dogs, flexible working, looking after dogs. That's fine. Dogs are welcome on the Financial Planner Life podcast. So,
I love that.
Don't let that put you off. What sort of dog is it?
He is a pointer. So we didn't go. Yeah. We went. I battled for about a year between a medium-sized dog and first met my husband. He wanted a kind of Bernese Mountain Dog, I think was his original choice, which is a huge dog. So we worked backwards and we've settled with a pointer. So kind of medium, but he's still on the larger side, I must admit.
Yeah, we used to have, when I was growing up, we had Weimaraners, used to breed Weimaraners. They're a gun
very
dog.
Similar. Yeah, very similar to the pointers.
Yeah, I've not got around to getting a dog now. My wife's badgering the hell out of me to try and get one. I've got a cat, a little black cat. I love my black cat. I just don't think I'm ready for a dog. Growing up, there was such a huge responsibility.
They are.
And it's like, do I really need that extra responsibility of looking after a dog? I'm just about managed.
You tick the child box. So
that's full on. I actually want a life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Danielle, thank you. Like I say, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. This is a careers-based podcast around the financial planning profession. And each week I love bringing guests on who can be honest and open and share their journey into the profession and their journey whilst in the profession. What went well, what went badly, what pearls of wisdom can you pass on? Because I tell you what, like everybody's journey in this profession is so different.
Yeah.
And it's a profession where it's not clearly defined. It will do sooner or later over the next sort of 5 to 10 years. We'll see a real clear structure about how you can develop within the profession. What's the best route to go down that suits the right person? There'll be timescales added to it. But at the moment, it's a bit of a free for all. What can take somebody 5 years to become a financial advisor can take somebody else a year, for example. You know, there's the belief now that, well, not the belief, the truth that you don't have to be a financial advisor to work within financial planning. There are plenty of other opportunities for you to do so as well. So what I like to do, shine a light on it, open it up, talk about people's journeys, bring people on in varying stages of their career, different roles, to really give a true reflection, because historically there's been nothing like that, you know, and that's the purpose of the Financial Planner life and the purpose of you being here today. So you were at Hall and Costello Wealth Management then. You were a chartered financial advisor. You were a Women in Financial Advice Awards nominee in 2021. Did you win that one?
No, I didn't. No, unfortunately not. But there was a huge amount of candidates, and worthy winners well ahead of me on that one. So I'll be in the running for one of the next years.
Of course you will. You'll win it, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So it's not always been that way. You know, you didn't always work within the financial planning profession. So let's just step back. Let's go back to the beginning. Tell us a little bit about how you got into the financial planning profession.
Yeah, so my journey is one of the longer journeys that you described. So I've actually been in financial services for around 10 years now. So I came fresh out of university, I studied law. So part of me liked law. I'm a bit of a kind of book geek, if that makes sense. I love reading. So a lot of my self-development, which has helped, and hence exactly, I guess, explains the kind of commitment to getting to chartered over the last 10 years as well. Because I do like reading, I do like the studying alongside it. But what I found quite frustrating about law is that it's very historic. It's based on kind of what happened in the past, and it's they're very much afraid to open the floodgates. So it's based on kind of previous precedents. Whereas with financial planning, I studied law and business, and the financial planning side of things is completely the opposite. It is literally, give me your problems and let's come up with a solution that can help fit kind of your goals and your objectives. And a lot of it is no one size fits all. As you said, everyone's journey is different, whether it's coming into the financial services industry or throughout their own kind of family and career paths themselves. So for me, a huge passion was actually problem solving, I guess, and coming up with solutions. So I kind of was interested in the financial services. And at the time, I was fortunate enough to get a job at Select Pension, which is a pension comparison tool software kind of company. And whilst I was working there, a lot of my role was talking to financial advisors. And one day I just thought, actually I could do this role. And it was something that I discussed with a colleague at the time. And he said, well, why don't you then? What's stopping you, as we were sat there on a kind of 10:30 kind of snack break or whatever, from that day onwards, I said, okay, well, actually, there is nothing stopping me. What's the worst that can happen? And I started looking into it, found out you needed to do your kind of 6 diploma exams, and actually started, I just thought, well, my hour lunch every day, for example, why don't I just do the first one, get my teeth into it and see what happens? So I started that, and that was really kind of, again, there was a plan there, but there was the short-term plans. It's kind of one exam at a time and the end goal. And then after I got the first one under my belt, I was like, well, actually, for me, why don't I be in a practice? Why don't I be surrounded within a financial advice environment? And so I then started looking for a job. And at the time, I didn't even know what a paraplanner was. So I think I Googled it about 50 times. What the hell is a paraplanner? Would you do a paraplanner? What does that do? And even now, funny enough, when I talk to certain people, and if I say about paraplanner, they're like, paraplanner? No one a lot of people don't understand what a paraplanner does. It's a report writer, isn't it? But in my opinion, actually now, kind of being a fully fledged chartered advisor, you want your paraplanner to be as qualified, if not, better than you in terms of being that person that you can bounce the ideas off and they can pull together. They're just really the people that don't get to sit in front of the client and present the solution. And that kind of explains again why I then moved on to advising from paraplanning, because although I always wanted to be an advisor, I was a good paraplanner and I did really like it, because that that ticked the box for solving the problems. You get given, a fact find, and naturally it's okay, well, these are the solutions and what's the best one for the client, and then pulling that together and presenting that in a report or from a compliance department point of view. So yeah, for me, that kind of, I did my exams and then decided that no, actually, if I'm doing the hard work, why not be the one in front of the client that, I love talking to people. Why not be the person in front of the client? And actually, it's quite a sad process when you go through, the paraplanning, and it's brilliant and it gives you so much. But then to wonder, well, what happened next? I always kind of played with me. I was like, well, I'd like to know in 6 months' time to go back to the client and be like, oh, did you stick to that? How does that work for you? And that kind of triggered my interest then to be a financial advisor. So I went through the academy at St James's Place and had a bit of support through them, and I became a self-employed advisor within a partner practice. And I've now developed into kind of a chartered financial planner, senior advisor, and we've got kind of about 8 or 9 advisors underneath who I help to mentor and bring through. And I've been doing that for 5 years now. So.
Fantastic. Lovely overview there. Thank you so much for that. And questions I've got bubbling away in my brain as we go through. So I love asking that question, because I get to sit back and just listen, and I get these ideas pop into my head of where I think, well, okay, if I was listening to this and I didn't have any idea about the profession, or if I'm sat in a role right now, what question would I ask? And I hope I'm going to ask some questions that might well answer them for the people listening. You have been doing this for 10 years then, haven't you?
Yeah, since joining as a junior paraplanner role,
yeah, so 10 years.
2012 I came out of university.
So around 22 years old, 21 years old you were when you got into the profession. Yeah. And that was getting into the financial planning profession, because before that you were working within financial services, but at Selector Pension. Previous to that, a little bit of time there at AXA.
Yes.
Previous to that, you were working in law, or you did a law degree and decided I did?
Well, I did a law degree, and I guess AXA was before, because I took a gap year before university, so I had kind of deferred things a bit. So AXA was very much kind of a great role to kind of learn the work and the world of work, if that makes sense. But then that was pretty much my kind of go off and travel and see the world, because again, when you're young, I think there's a huge, and I guess it goes back to financial education, but there's a huge perception that, there's a path that you're on that you have to follow. And for me, and I'll be completely honest, that I didn't know. I went to university because I thought that's what I should do. My mum didn't have the kind of options or the opportunity to go to university. And I saw her go through night school and do it later on in life after children. And I saw how hard that was for her. So I was kind of, if I've got the opportunity to go to university, it should be the path that I go down. And again, it was that, well, I wanted to feel like if I'm going to university that I should do something that I could then use later on in life, rather than maybe just doing something at the time that I really enjoyed, which was, psychology or sociology or something like that. So again, you're molded, aren't you, throughout life into this certain kind of box. And I think there's always a kind of conscious kind of battle with yourself to kind of break the mold, but in a way that is kind of worth breaking the mold for, or taking a direction that actually you're passionate about. And I think it's hard, because unless you know and as you feel that passion for something, all you can do, in my opinion, is just take the leap and kind of run with something, and then pivot if it's not the right thing for you. And I think there's a lot of pressure on people not to do that.
I think there's a lot of pressure on people, especially younger now, to be aware of what it is they should be doing with their life, and not taking into account that life is a journey, and that along the way you work things out. There's this high expectation that, and I listen a lot, people phone me up and they get very anxious and, oh, I really want to be an advisor, I really want to do this. And you're 21 years old, right? I'm 40. I'm running my own recruitment business, and it's been a fucking struggle. It's hard graft. The journey is hard. And along that journey, I've learned so much about myself, right? If you were to get your head down and do a bit of work, get your qualifications, join a firm, in 5 years' time, you're going to be 26.
Yeah.
26 is young.
Yeah.
Right? 26 is young. I mean, even like when I hit 30, I was like, oh my God, I should be so much more further ahead than I am right now. And it's like, it's 30. I look back on 30 now and think, God, I put so much pressure upon myself. I think people put a lot of pressure upon themselves to have this idea in their head, especially if they've gone to university, and especially if sometimes I feel this a lot with the academic side as well, when people are very passionate about getting a degree, they must get a senior role, all their other friends are going to leave university and get a better job than them, therefore they have to get a better job. They maybe have the pressure of the costs involved and the loans and that involved, not to mention how they're sort of marketed to by the media about the rising cost of living and the having to buy a house and how hard it is. We have all this pressure at such a young age to feel like we should know exactly what it is we should do. And I just want people to take a step back a little bit and relax and just enjoy the journey, because otherwise you're going to stress your nut out.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
The best parts of your life.
Yeah, I loved the gap year. It grew me as a person so much, and I went off traveling, but one of the main reasons for going was because I thought I'd never do that again. I'd never get the opportunity to travel again. Yeah. It's a once in a lifetime, opportunity to do. And when you're there, you realize that, oh God, I could do this whenever I wanted to throughout my whole life for the next, 50 years, 60 years, if I really wanted to. Obviously, kind of age permitting, but yeah.
There's lots of different careers now. You look at, Bali have just released a 5-year working visa without any tax. You don't pay any tax in Bali, right? You sit on the beach in your huts or whatever you're doing, and you can work over there for 5 years on a visa and not pay any tax out there, as long as you're spending your money out there. So there's lots of these kind of digital nomads that are doing that now. And I think the world is a hell of an open book now, and you can go out there and do that. And
it depends the type of person you are, as much as that attracts me, the flip side of it. And the reason I guess financial planning is that my passion is because as much as that is an idyllic scenario, I thrive in front of people and I love being with people. So for that, it's that balance, isn't it, between knowing what makes you tick, I think.
Yeah, I like that you worked out very early on. And that's another thing as well. Like sometimes people feel like they're too-footed in on a degree and a course. So for example, you went down the law route, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't work out that they absolutely don't want to work in law until they're in their 30s, right? But you kind of made that decision. You very quickly established that this isn't where I really want to be, even though I've dedicated 4 or 5 years, whatever it is, to your education around that. You realized it wasn't where you wanted to be. So you didn't even go into the profession. You decided to pivot at that point and take a different route. And that was quite a brave thing to do. Was that a challenge to you at that point? So there will definitely be listeners right now who are in there, who are graduates, and they're thinking the same thing. It's like, I don't like what it is I'm doing. It doesn't interest me and I don't see a future in it. What would you say to those people?
I say that you can always, I guess go back, if you've established a kind of a degree in a certain kind of sector or a certain industry, you can go back to that. And I think, but not even that, if you haven't even completed it, I think if your passion is that strong that, that you've identified that actually it's not the route to go down. I think, I'm the type of person that I would work hard. I'm a hard worker. So to put it really kind of, I would work hard whatever I did. So why not do it in something that I'm really passionate about? Because I would give my all to kind of any industry, any job as it sits anyway. So again, why not do that for myself was another reason of being self-employed down the route. But yeah, I think it's just about, and I guess fast forward now, one of my clients, bless her, absolutely love her to bits. And she had the holiday countdown apps for my next trip to Bali or whatever. Yeah. She had one of them for about 2 years to retirement, and I bless her, and we got her there, and she absolutely loves it now, and she's pretty, everything worked out perfectly for her. But I remember thinking at the time that to me that isn't the way that actually I would want any of my clients to envisage. And I obviously met her quite later on in kind of her journey, and she had that set up already. But yeah, it's something that I guess, going back to your own circumstance, that you are here. It's always that balance between live for today, plan for tomorrow, and and I guess to view it career-wise, that you are going to be working for a long time. So you can, if something's not the right path for you, you can change it. If it actually, if something doesn't work out for you, just pivot. And we saw it all through the pandemic. Companies kind of pivot into restaurants go to takeaways, and vice versa. And I think actually, as long as you're passionate about what you do and you love what you do, it's that age-old thing of not working a day in life, isn't it? But I do think that actually, kind of, if something spikes your interest, it's definitely worth pursuing.
I agree. I think I come across some people that do exceptionally well in a job they hate. And I always say to them, imagine how good you'd be in a job you love.
Yeah.
Why are you working so hard and so well in an environment you hate? There's multiple opportunities out there where you can go and transfer the skill set that you have and the passion you have and the interest you have and the purpose, align it to self-purpose, and go and find that thing that that ticks those boxes. And the more I talk to financial planners on this more honest and open level, the more I understand that the financial planning profession ticks huge boxes, huge boxes for people. It isn't just this nerdy kind of get my calculator out and work out what your pension is going to be and stuff. There's so much more to it, so many levels from a well-being perspective. How we interact with our clients, how we educate our clients, the levels of stress that can be reduced by good money management, having somebody that you can confide in about the things that we don't talk about, the things that make us feel quite insecure. Money, how we are viewed in respect of how much we earn, and there's a lot of people hold on to these money issues and they don't let them go. And a financial advisor has that skill set to be able to open people up and say, come on, let's talk about it. Let's get it out in the open. Even people I can imagine you're coming across like that are thinking about divorce. And people worry deeply, don't they? Like, well, what am I going to do about my money? What am I going to do about this? And how am I going to live? And historically, females, for instance, wouldn't have been able to really go and talk to anybody. I remember my nan, very late on in her life, divorced my step granddad. Now, she was very unsure of which direction to go and what to do, etc. And she ended up talking to a lawyer, not a financial advisor.
Yeah, that's exactly the same as my nan. And obviously my parents are separated as well, so I saw a lot of pressure from single parent families, and also as you said, my nan separated. And hearing her journey now, I think, God, if only she had that information back then. And luckily she did have a very good lawyer at the time, but it was the lawyer that kind of convinced her to kind of, this is how we need to split the assets and things. And I do work with a lot of kind of lawyers in that respect, but I do think financial planning, even when you look at divorces and the difference between, a lot of people focus on splitting the main residence, for example, and the here and now, and they're kind of I guess by the time you get onto pension assets, the kind of the willingness has gone slightly, because you're so focused on the here and now that there's a lot of females and males that necessarily don't get that side of things or the advice that they need in that respect. But also, I think that it's a huge relationship building industry. And I guess going into it, I didn't really realise that. And I was very much, I was interested in people and I wanted to build a professional relationship with them. But what I found now actually is it's quite hard for me to not be friends with my clients, which is a really weird position to be in. But we, even on Sunday I was around a friend's house, a client's house, and actually I spoke to someone the day after, and I said, we had a barbecue on Sunday, and she said, oh, how do you know them? And I was like, well, actually, she was a client. So her and her husband were a client, and then they met my husband, and we went for coffee once, or we went round there once, and we've now become friends. And I think it is because you get so in depth with people and they do open up to you, and vice versa. They like that back from you in the respect that they know and they trust that actually their best interests are at your heart. And I think it's hard to kind of keep that distance when you do get to that stage with clients.
It's a very intimate relationship. It's a very intimate, and as I think one of the words you just used there, which sums it right up, is trust. The financial planning profession, it is a profession. You are a professional. They're going to talk to you about things, aren't they, that they probably wouldn't talk to their best friend about. So there are things that are going to come up that perhaps they don't want to share with anybody in their close proximity. And perhaps, and as we look at things as people get older and how lonely people are actually getting as they get older, but do they have those types of people around them that they can confide in anyway? So when it comes to having a relationship with a financial advisor that throughout their life they can turn to for any money concerns, I think that's a real blessing for somebody to have. The one thing I've learned as I've gotten older is let go of the need for my own personal ability to solve all my problems and turn to my experts who are there for me. And in turn, I am an expert for them in other areas. I've got my chap who's a brilliant nutritionist. I've got my friend who's my personal trainer. I've got a financial advisor. I've just had a fantastic mortgage advisor that I've been dealing with. Brilliant guy, such a good guy. And I will forever refer him on to other people, but he's always there for me and he always will be there for me. Whatever, a good doctor, whoever those people are, I turn to. So it gets out of my head and I can speak to those people. And that's where financial planners sit in, I think. And that's you absolutely nailed it in respect of this, the trust, and it's the relationship that's being built. It's not just, I'm going to sit there and make a load of money for somebody and therefore I'm going to make a load of money. And that's what I want to kind of get through to people as they're thinking about joining this profession, is that it's a deeper level. There's a deeper connection.
Yeah. And you're part of a team. You are part of a team in terms of, the accountant, as you said, the mortgage broker, the everyone. And you want your client to feel as safe as possible, that they have that team around them, that at any eventuality that comes up or any concerns they have, they know, and it won't always be you, but, again, a lot of the times my clients come to me for do you know a business coach, for example, or someone that can help with the business side of things? And so a lot of that is kind of ingrained into, they trust you with one kind of area that actually they think you're the go-to person for a lot of things. And again, that's about building your network in the background, isn't it? And then for us to be that person that we can safely make sure that actually our clients are getting the best information as possible. But I do think actually that weight lifted off clients' backs in terms of, knowing that there are people that they can turn to, because let's face it, in the industry or in the kind of society or economic environment we're at the moment, it's hard to kind of switch off from information. And information is very different to kind of bespoke solutions to your problem. And that's really the kind of difference that we're in at the moment, is people are flooded with information, but what they're not getting is kind of the relevant specifics to their actual circumstances. And it is confusing. And I think, to know that as an individual or as a business owner, that you have that person that you can just run your ideas over, or kind of that you trust to come up and apply all that information to you, is really, really vital.
I think even let's sort of fast forward 5-10 years, right? And the adoption of quantum computers and AI, right? There is an ability in the future, not far away, for me to ask any question that I want, right? And an AI will be able to answer that question on a far more superior level to a human can, right? And it might even be able to bring in emotion. I could have a video of you in front of me, completely augmented, that is talking to me. But I wonder, even at that stage, right? I just don't think you'll ever replace the need and the connection a human to human connection can have by being able to walk into a room, shake hands with somebody, look them in the eye, and have a specific energy level connection. You're never going to get rid of that.
No, I agree. It's a lot of it is hand holding. A lot of kind of the financial planning industry and being a financial advisor or a financial planner is hand holding people, and in order to kind of hold their hand in the right way, you need to know kind of what actually you're kind of working towards together. And I think, and it's a lot of it is, I've been in front of clients. If you ask someone, what's your attitude to this, they'll say, I want to make as much money as possible. I fit at X out of X. But then something will happen if you're sat in front of them and their eye will go towards, the kitchen, and then you'll have a conversation and it will come to light that it's really been frustrating them because they really want the kitchen done, and the children have been doing this, and there's not enough space, and it's really frustrating because, and then it develops onto, well, and me and my husband have been arguing a little bit, or like something like that. And that's the thing that you're missing. It's people, and it's communication, and it's having that relationship with someone to break down actually, not just kind of one word answers to kind of a kind of question bank, but actually what is it that actually resonates with the client, and in terms of the underlying issue or the underlying goal there. So a lot of it has to be done face to face, in my opinion. It has to be done with a person that knows you as well, as opposed to computer generated moving forward. So I do think there will be a shift towards that, and I think for a lot of people it will suit certain kind of environments or certain kind of objectives, but I don't think you could ever move away from real financial planning.
You mentioned there you're a bit of a book geek.
Yeah.
You do a lot of self-development, personal development. Yeah. What have you read, or what have you learned throughout your 10 years of working within financial planning that you would say is a kind of a fantastic concept, or a strategy, or what it is? Is there any specific books, any specific sort of formulas that you follow, any steps or anything like that?
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of it is kind of figuring out, like, what's your why, if that makes sense, of the phrase kind of what's your why. And I think you can relate that to both kind of myself, what's my why in terms of doing what I'm doing, but also each client, what's your why, what's the kind of end goals here, and also breaking things down. I think a lot of people, like you said, they go for this, they're younger, or they want to come into the industry, but they want to go to this straight away to the chartered financial planner, for example. But it's breaking it down, one exam at a time, one bump through the door, building up, but kind of, I guess your experience, but also kind of all those, celebrating the achievements that you get along the way, which then reinforces kind of the passion as well. I think when we skip straight to the end goal, a lot of people, the passion fizzles out because they're going for that one big goal, and then the journey to get there is so long that they're not appreciating it along the way. And I think sometimes it's nice to, kind of develop and set yourself small goals, appreciate them when they come along, and kind of break it down. I think that's something I've definitely learned a lot of the ways, just to celebrate small wins, because they do, again, sounds really sad, but it goes back to, again, financial planning. It's the compound effect, isn't it? It's actually compounding everything that you do, which just kind of resonates to you. And I think a lot of that for me is habit stacking, in the respect that, I'm quite, my husband says to me, I'll set my alarm the night before, and I'll, even if I'm knackered or I've had a bad night's sleep, I'll say, I'm going to the gym at this time, or 6:15, I've got this class on, or whatever. And he'll wake up and he'll go, I don't know how you do it. I just don't know how you do it. But to me, if I let myself down, and there is an element of, okay, if you got an injury, yes, okay, don't push yourself overboard. But I set myself targets, or I set myself things that I want to achieve, and I'm dedicated to achieving that. And if I don't apply that principle to my own life, then how can I expect my clients to believe that I would be that invested in them? And vice versa. I think, if you build that mentality that what you say you're going to do, you do, then that leap from an external industry or a kind of role that you're in previous to get where you are, or where you want to be, becomes that little bit more, you trust yourself more, because you know that you're the kind of person that when you set your mind to it, or you set your heart to it, you do actually do it, and you deliver on it. And that starts small. That starts, with nutritionally based things, and going to the gym, and saying that you'll be there on time, and little things like that. And if you're that kind of person, I just think, that actually that's how you build your own trust.
So you've got some non-negotiables that you built into your life. Right? Yeah, I'm the same. I'm a firm believer of non-negotiables, and I think within any career, you also need to look after your own personal well-being, right?
Yeah.
One of my non-negotiables is between 11:30 and 1:30 is my time. So that's my time to go to the gym. If I want to meditate, if I want to go for a walk, if I want to do some yoga, that's my time. And no one can book into my diary. No one in here in the business can book into my diary. I'm not here for 2 hours. But for me, it's highly important that I build that into my day, and that I book it out of my calendar. And at first you get really anxious about it. What do people think? What happens if someone wants to call me and blah, blah, blah. And as time goes on, it just becomes normality, and you build your work hours around those non-negotiable hours that I develop on myself. But other non-negotiables are like making sure I'm on time. 7 p.m. 7 a.m. for me is a start day. I'm up at 7. I'm up. My non-negotiable straight into gratitude, straight on the mat for 10 minutes of stretching, straight in the office. That's my non-negotiable. Timekeeping for me is so important from an accountability perspective, because you
can flip it around, and I think if a lot of people, a lot of other advisors within my kind of industry, some are night owls, some are morning owls, and I'm the same. And I think you just figure out what works for you. And as you said, there is a big judgment. I'm a morning person in the respect that my time of day is the morning. So my alarm goes off, I get up at 6 a.m, but I'm never in front of a client before 10 o'clock, because to me that morning is the gym, it's the walk, it's the kind of getting into the day, set myself up. But give me an evening appointment and I'm absolutely fine. Whereas some people will be the other way around. They don't want to do evenings, but they'll happily, start at 8 a.m. or whatever and kind of carry on. I think as long as you make sure you do what works for you, I think, 100% that, there's no judgment to either side. It's just about figuring out when you're more productive. And people are, there's a lot of psychology tests you can do, but also kind of about your sleep habits, whether you're a morning person, night owl, when your most productive time of the day is, and things like that. And I think actually it is about, I used to be a bit of a martyr, and especially during lockdown, I got to the point where I almost sat there for a day or for the whole day, because I felt like, I've got to be doing something. And, I guess that drive to kind of be, I don't know, present. And some days I could probably actually, if I took a step back, I probably could have squeezed that into 3 or 4 hours worth of solid work, and then I'd have gone out, and I'd have got that balance right a little bit better. And I think actually, we live in this culture now where it's, I guess everyone loves to say how hard they're working, and we all do. And, someone says, I love my mum to bits, but every time I speak to her, I go, you're actually, I work it's such a hard day. And I'm like, bless you. And I'm like, but anything else going on? Or like anything else given? And I think we are, we got to a point, the two of us, where we used to speak kind of, a couple of times a week or every day at one point. And every day it was like, at one point I said to her, I was like, is this a competition that we've got into where it's like, who's had the more stressful day? And there was nothing positive about that. So it's just about working. And that's a great thing about this industry, or any industry you're in, but specifically financial advising, is that you are, you're the one that can, say yes. You're the one that can manage your diary. You're the one that can, very much run your business as suits you, but also your clients as well. And I do think that, that's a hugely kind of undersold value of being a financial planner, is having that passion, the tenacity, the kind of, the structure that you want to work hard and that you want to make the most of it, but also having that flexibility as well, that, it can very much work for you.
Absolutely. Not in every single role, though. Let's talk about your, you at the beginning there, you alluded to the fact that you didn't understand what a paraplanner was, right?
Yeah.
Now, we talk about this flexibility, this work flexibility and stuff. Now, we're not going to get too into detail about it, but I know lots of administrators, lots of paraplanners, lots of compliance guys that don't have that flexibility that, say, a financial planner has. Starting to develop it. It's starting to happen. Forward-thinking companies are allowing it, sort of to recognize that people can work from home. My God, as an administrator or a paraplanner, and you can work those hours around. And if you look at things like the outsourced paraplanning companies, etc., it's very flexible. So it's starting to come in, but it's not always been that way. Let's just look at the, if someone's listening to this, right? They're thinking, well, what is it? Why did Danielle start as a paraplanner, and what was it? And you didn't know what it was. Just give us a brief overview, right? What was your journey in the very, very beginning of being a paraplanner? How long were you in the role for? What did you learn? And when did you decide that, okay, well, this role, paraplanning, isn't for me, it's actually something else?
Yeah. Okay. So for me, the paraplanner role is very much, it's an administration role, but a lot of it is kind of looking at someone's circumstances or any kind of existing assets they've got, and collating information. So a lot of it again was a kind of an education piece around understanding the industry. So again, what I think puts a lot of people off the industry as a whole is the jargon that's associated with financial planning. And again, you can skip forward and say now that's a huge kind of piece for us as financial planners to break down the barriers around kind of using financial jargon and the misconception around what do things mean, or making it sound more complicated than it is. It's about trying to simplify financial planning for me. But specifically with the Paraplanner, it allows you that time to kind of get your head in the industry, to learn all the quirks of legislation in the financial services has changed hugely over the years, and it continues to develop. So each scheme or each kind of historic product that someone's got, for example, will have different benefits that being a paraplanner allows you to kind of hone down on actually the history of financial planning, which again, relating that, I guess, to a future role as a financial planner allows you to understand certain people's kind of emotions around the financial services, because a lot of them were contracted out, for example, during a period of time where they opted out of their state pension benefits. So that, or you learn that through the paraplanning role. So it allows you that opportunity, I think, to really embed yourself into the financial services industry and figure out kind of if it is something that you do enjoy, but also to give yourself that background knowledge over the longer term as well. So yeah,
not everybody's a client-facing paraplanner, and we're seeing it more now where the paraplanners is being brought into like a client meeting and being, it's a fantastic extra addition to a meeting that kind of gives confidence to the client that there is not only me, the financial advisor, building the relationship with you and understanding you perhaps more on a personalized level, but in the background that we've got this individual here who's highly educated, is doing some huge research, and they're going to tell you a little bit about maybe how technically some of these things work without confusing you too heavy. But when you're in your power planning role and you get a fact find back from a client, perhaps the financial advisor's done the fact find, because you as a power planner will receive all that information. You get it all in, right? You might have an administrator work with you, or it might be your job if you're an admin stroke power planner to go out to the product providers, pull all the other, to get all the letters of authority in and all those types of things, extra work that you've got to do to bring the clear picture in to what that individual's financial situation looks like.
Yeah.
Did you feel sometimes, though, as a power planner, that you were disconnected from the client and what the emotional aspect of it was? Did you ever feel that?
Yeah, because you're relying on the information that comes back from the advisor. And again, I guess my journey is different because it's made me more detailed in my processes now, because I know what it's like on the other hand when you're like, oh, I just don't get actually why they would be doing that, and then you have a conversation and they go, oh, it's because that happened, and you're like, oh, well, that would have been good to know. But sometimes, like with anything, we keep it in our own heads because we know the clients. So yeah, I think now as an industry we are doing a lot more where the paraplanner is coming along to meetings more, and it's something that, funny enough, I was talking to our office manager about last night, with my PA who does my admin, is bringing her along to my meetings from now on, really, just so she can do the paperwork, because she sees it all and prepares it all. And again, it's that, getting her involved. And I'm quite fortunate that most of my clients know her and by her name and will email her directly for certain things. So again, it's trying to build that relationship in. And so you're almost like a kind of a team as such. But yeah, I think paraplanning is honestly, I love being a financial planner, but I generally think paraplanning is a fantastic career to have. And I think that it provides a great opportunity to go as far as you want to go. And being a good financial planner is like gold dust nowadays. And there are it's something that as a planner or as an advisor, it's really, really crucial to have behind you, and it enables you that peace of mind and that kind of ability to know that you can focus on your clients, because the kind of background side of it is very much taken care of by the paraplanner. So yeah, I do think it's a fantastic career to have. And from my point of view, I think if you're a decent paraplanner and you're in that role, it's just about whether you want to be in front of the client and whether in order to get there you kind of want to be a planner, or whether you're able to get that out of kind of the arrangement that you have in your current role by kind of seeing the end goal as well.
How long were you in a paraplanner position for?
Ooh, 4 years.
4 years. Okay. So when you were in that
4 years.
paraplanner position,
Yeah.
did you have, when you entered it, first off, did you have any qualifications?
No. So when I entered it, I was doing RO5 as my original one. I was junior paraplanner, and there was kind of 2 of us in the office at that point in time. And then I worked my way up, and I became kind of head of paraplanning and kind of team leader for the rest of the office again. So it's that juggling between the admin, but also the paraplanning role. But again, it's it enables you to you build the relationships, and you can build the relationships. I had brilliant relationships with the practices clients at the time, because you are that first port of call, and you are then doing the kind of work as well. So you do get to know the client as well.
The role of a paraplanner, like the term paraplanner, everyone just thinks, right, well, that's it. That's what the job is. But there's multiple positions in the career journey of a paraplanner. It can be broken down into even things like office administration comes underneath that. Client relationship comes underneath that. Investment administrator comes underneath that. It could be client-facing paraplanner, right? It could be a specialist within a specific area of tax, for instance, where you've kind of built your knowledge and expertise around that area. I know some paraplanners who consider themselves pension geeks, for example. They absolutely love pensions, and they're absolutely solid on that. And I guess what I just want to take from your journey is that 4 or 5 years, you weren't, oh, look, now I'm working in a firm. I've got an exam under my belt. I've got an RO5 under my belt. Now I'm a paraplanner. You weren't, were you? No, you were administrator. You took on extra role responsibilities as you progressed through. So within that sort of four years of being a paraplanner, when did you start to realize, because it was your first job within financial planning, when did you start to realize that, oh, I am now a paraplanner?
Okay. Yeah. I always knew what the end goal was, and I always knew what I wanted to get to, but I did really enjoy what I was doing, and I was, to put it bluntly, I was bloody good at it. So again, like a lot of people out there, you almost get stuck in this position where it's not really where you want to be 100%, but you are in a role where things are ticking along nicely. You're doing okay.
Let me stop you there. You said you were bloody good at it, right?
Yeah.
Why were you so good at it? What did you do that allowed you to be really good at paraplanning? What is it you were doing? Was there some extra, study? What made you a great paraplanner?
I think just being quite detailed and caring. It's caring, to be honest with you. And that was one of my decisions why I moved on from paraplanning. But I cared so much. It wasn't a fact find to me. I got information, or I heard about a client scenario, and I treated it as if I was the advisor. This is, oh, okay, well, what can we do here? How can we, solve this problem? And you are reliant. You're just, the only difference is you're reliant upon that filter from the advisor to then come up with that strategy. But I really cared about what I did and about coming up with that solution for the client. And it was something that, just, I guess from my point of view, I really enjoyed being part of that process.
So problem solving is a big part of being, when you get given, say, a task, you get given a report, a case, right? And you've got to look at it, decipher it, and solve the problem. Can I, improve this person's pension plan, or whatever it might well be, right? You've got all these bits of information. It all comes in. You look at it all. You bring it all together, and your job is to offer a better solution than the one they currently have, right?
Yeah.
And give that back to a financial advisor.
Yeah,
there's a huge responsibility on your head.
Yeah,
but also as a paraplanner, I can imagine it being highly frustrating if you're working with a financial advisor who just stores it all up in their head and expects you to mind read.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there are a few of them out there.
So let's talk about that bit. Let's talk about that bit. What would you do as a paraplanner now? Let's go back in time.
Now you can do so. I mean, now I know, even for my point of view, if I'm in a rush, I come out of a meeting, I can brain dump, I can do a dictation, for example, and send that through. There's so many different now kind of suggestions that you can, you used to be able to, you have to go back and then you'd get like this handover sheet from an advisor or whatever with kind of soft facts and, dog's name and things like that. And you'd have to kind of try and apply that. But their personal circumstances now, we can ask clients to almost complete their kind of income, their outgoings, expenditure planners up front before meetings or as part of that. And having that relationship as a paraplanner, and from my PA point of view, she can very much, she has that relationship with my clients that if there is some missing information, she can go back to them, and actually the relationship is there through the office as well to be able to do that. So that's hugely important, I think. But nowadays it's just about getting and how you work. As you said, some advisors or planners they do like to write things down or do a handover on a document, for example, when they, if you set a title or a bracket, they'll input that information. And some do just like to work through a process. And to me, it's about a mix of the two, and knowing kind of where your strengths lie. And, some people do just like to do a dictation or a brain dump, as they call it, and then have someone else kind of filter that through. Okay. But I think having that relationship with a paraplanner and advisor that is really tight, that you can, if there are any missing information, challenge them on it or say, can you clarify this, or can actually you missed this, so I need to know this to kind of complete a report. I think, and that's where I think a lot of people necessarily kind of, I guess, don't get it right, but I think that's where the distinction, or there's a bit of a kind of caveat or gap between paraplanning and advisor, is if you're not working together, you should be on the same team 100%. Yeah. And should be working together.
It's a profession, it's a career path within financial planning within its own right. I mean, crikey, we're seeing salaries around the 65k mark for a paraplanner. Yeah. So someone who is a career paraplanner, absolutely get your head down, get stuck in. I think one of the things you picked up on there is not an us versus them type role, is it?
No.
I'm the glitz and the glamour, I'm the advisor, and you're the mushroom. I'll keep you in the dark and feed you shit from now on. It's you go together hand in hand, and it's becoming so obvious now that it's such a huge requirement of a good financial advisor to have a good paraplanner in place, and the relationship has to be solid. And I think some of the biggest bugbearers I hear from paraplanners or administrators is just that lack of communication, that lack of support, the lack of training and development, but also the lack of mentorship, and this feeling of, like I just said, like you're over there and we're over here, and we're the glitz and the glamour, and you'll do what I tell you to do. You can't do that anymore within financial planning, because these guys are so sought after. These guys and girls are so sought after that all they've got to do is turn their head, and a firm who understands that puts their arm around them, gives them a 5 pay rise, and they're out the door. It's that easy. I can place administrators, paraplanners anywhere at the moment. They're rare as rocking horse.
They are. Yeah, they are. And good. They are, because they are, they are the brains behind it, theoretically. I mean, not to put us down as financial planners. Obviously, we wouldn't be where we are if we weren't. But from that respect, you should, your paraplanner is as valuable to a client as you are, because they're the ones, that kind of, I guess, from a compliance point of view, but also they're the ones that are checking the existing information and making sure that nothing's missed from that point of view.
But it works in the same way as well, because at the end of the day, if you're an administrator, you're a paraplanner, your trust with the financial advisor has to be solid. The financial advisor has to trust you, because you're handing over work that needs to be done within a certain time frame, in a certain way, according to regulation. Because at the end of the day, if you're delivering the financial advice, you're the one that could be deemed as being the one giving the wrong advice. There is that trust and attention to detail that needs to be built. Let's talk about mentorship then, because do you believe in mentorship within the financial planning profession? Do you mentor your PA at the moment? Do you mentor anybody else? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we've got a number of advisors within our practice. Some of them are fresh into the industry from external industries, so from a marketing background, for example, one of our girls. Others have come from banking, so within the financial services sector, but not necessarily being diploma qualified. So again, going through St James's Place offers like the academy, which again is fantastic for the groundwork. But I think, as with a lot of things, it's actually doing the job. And for me yesterday, it was about I was in the office yesterday and we were having a chat, and one of the guys who's come from Nationwide actually was just saying, okay, well, I'm going out and seeing this client, and we went through everything, and it's just that second opinion, and just kind of, yeah, actually, or have you thought about that? Oh yeah, no, actually, and relating things, because I think, as with everything, and I think whatever industry you go into, you go for a job role, you have to ace the interview or whatever it looks like, and then you start the job, and then you sit there at this desk, or I've not actually ever been in this kind of position, but I imagine you'd sit there at this desk and you're not quite sure how to use the coffee machine, and you're scared to ask because there's almost this, no one likes to ask for help because you set yourself at a standard and you wowed in the interview, for example, and actually, but for me it's about, I'm a big kind of advocate for asking for help. Most of the time I ask everyone for their advice. I don't always listen to it or apply it, but in my opinion, it either reinforces what you are thinking in the first place, or you just gain more knowledge to apply moving forward. So I think as long as you trust in your own filtration process, that actually, it's a huge kind of advantage to have to kind of ask for help. And I think a lot of people in the financial services industry, there's a fear around, showing an interest in whether, paraplanning, if you're an administrator, for example, because you're committing to rolling down that route, for example, or vice versa, paraplanning advisor, but actually just to show an interest, to get as much information. You're the filtration. So you've got to trust yourself. So I would say to anyone in the industry or outside of the industry, just talk to people, gain advice, and I guess you will then be able to ascertain whether that is appropriate for your scenario or kind of where you see yourself going moving forward. But from a mentoring point of view, it's just about making sure, people keep that kind of consistency and motivation, because I think, a lot of showing up every day in front of a client, it relies a lot on your own motivation and your own kind of, I guess the persona you put out. And I think that actually to have someone that can encourage you and drive you in a positive way is definitely something, that actually is good to have within the industry, 100%.
So you moved on from Paraplanning, you went down the St. James's Place Internal Academy because you were already part of a St. James's Place business anyway, when you were working as a paraplanner, right? I assume when you were working as a paraplanner, you were employed. Down the St. James's Place Academy, made the brave decision to go self-employed, right? Yeah. You've also, within that, wrapped up chartered.
Yes.
Can I just ask, why did you choose to go chartered? And what, if someone was listening to this and they were thinking, well, I'm level 4 qualified, why do I need to be chartered? What's the benefit of being chartered to you?
To me, the benefit of being chartered is the confidence to know that I've achieved as much as I can for the benefit of my clients. So it's not necessarily a kind of self-driven, it's a great accolade to have. But for me, it's about that trust and cementing the trust and saying, okay, well, and I guess it's trying to break down the barriers between financial planning and salesman or salesmanship. It's about actually, okay, I'm great in front of you and I care when I'm in front of you, but I also care behind the scenes. It's that whole kind of phrase of, it's what you're doing when people aren't watching that actually matters. And I think for me, being chartered just reinforces that you're not the kind of person that can be great in front of a client or great in a meeting and then, not kind of put that same level of effort into kind of the industry or the role behind the scenes. Because a lot of it is, weekends, hard work, especially when you're balancing a business and trying to grow a business. And don't get me wrong, there's been times where, that's fallen to the wayside because my clients have always come first. But it is about actually, showing that commitment. And I guess for me, it was just, again, that whole, once you say you're going to do something, you kind of, I did question it a few times. Why am I doing this again? Oh, because you said you were going to do it. Yeah, okay. Remember what you said, Danny, show up.
Yeah.
So no, it's about, I think for me, it's about differentiating yourself, but also I think just being able to evidence that you can kind of stick to your commitments. And they say it's the gold standard, don't they? But I think, to be honest with you, I think that actually, yeah, it just evidences that you are kind of committed to the industry as a whole, behind the scenes.
What's been your biggest learning experience then, being a financial planner? So you've got yourself qualified, you've gone through the academy, you've now been working as a financial planner now for how many years?
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah.
Over those 5 years, right, what was your biggest learning experience? What would you sort of pass on as a nugget of wisdom to somebody maybe starting their first year as an advisor? What would you say to do, or something that you've learned along the way that's had such a really profoundly positive impact on perhaps the client generation side, perhaps from a marketing perspective? What do you think is a real valuable piece that you would pass on and say, if you're going to be an advisor, do this?
Yeah, I would say, God, that's a hard one. It's just kind of start now, get perfect later. It's just kind of go for it, try everything. And, and I'm not just saying, throw mud at the wall and hope it sticks, but, if you're interested in something, or if you think something's worth trying, then give it a go, whether it's softly, lightly, or whether you kind of stick yourself right in the middle of it. It's just about kind of figuring out what works for you. And I do think that, you shouldn't be, and you won't be the same person year on year. You develop, you grow. And I think, whether it goes to enter in the industry or as a financial advisor, I think once you're in the industry and once you grow as a financial advisor, you wouldn't, if someone said to me, oh, you're exactly the same as you were 2 years ago, I'd be offended, I'd be, because whereas I think when we're faced with the decision around making a change or making a leap, you kind of flip that on its head and you think, what entitles me to think I can do that, or what entitles me to think I can, kind of succeed in that environment. But if you flip it on its head, and to me, it's just you should be continually growing, and it's about, I think it's almost a shock factor. You've got a daughter, and year on year, it's like, oh, the 6-year-old doesn't look like the 5-year-old, or isn't the same as the 5-year-old, and they are, but for some reason we stopped expecting that from ourselves at some point. We reached 18 or back to that whole kind of university age, and suddenly it was like we were meant to be this person, and then you meant to stick to it or be that person. And for me, it's just about continuing development and making sure that you are growing. And I think that was a very long-winded way of going down that route. Lots of learnings.
The thing you said there was about continuous development, and what I like about you as well, you've gotten to, and again, your proof's in the pudding here, right? Okay, 32 years old. Shouldn't ever ask a woman her age, but I'm going to anyway. But you're roughly 32 years old, right?
Yes, roughly, give or take.
Roughly.
No, I am.
So 32 years old, right? You're chartered. You spent 10 years in the profession, right? You've studied throughout that time, got yourself up to chartered, continuous learning. You've learned from the ground up.
Yeah.
You've taken the plunge into being self-employed as a financial planner. Therefore, you're building that business, the assets under management for yourself. Yes, albeit underneath another firm and their brand, but you are really master of your own destiny, controlling your own client engagement and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's, that is fantastic. And by the age of 32, I think that's applaudable, right? And again, it's people. I want people to understand that it can. If you did it at 21 years old, by the time you're 32, is life pretty good for you at the moment? Do you enjoy what you're doing? Are you really genuinely happy and excited and positive about your future? Because I'm 40, right? I'm really super duper positive about my 40s and 50s. I'm like the best I've ever been in my life, right?
Yeah.
Are you super positive about your 30s? Are you thinking, wow, I've got myself to this position. I put all that hard work in, and now I'm going to plow it. Now I'm going to start really kicking ass. Is that how you're feeling?
Yeah, no, I am 100%. And I think, everyone, I think there's this, as I said before, there's a huge kind of society now bands around kind of burnout, quite a huge phrase. And I read something recently, and it was like, you should never, burnout is when the passion goes. And I think actually, it is, it's long hours, it's hard work, it's pressure, it's building the relationships, the trust. People trust you, so there becomes a kind of level of I guess pressure on yourself within that role. But when you love what you do, and I wake up every day, and I thrive off being in front of my clients and seeing the changes. And one of my clients bought a house recently, and I emailed her at the weekend. They completed on Friday. And I met them when they moved over from Europe. They had, long story short, I've been on that journey with them, and I genuinely can say like that. That's what I do it for. And that's, every day you wake up and you think, okay, who can I help today? And for me, it's just about being excited about all the people in the future. And I'm going to be, I think the younger you are as well, I'm going to be around now to see, mums pass that down to daughters and sons and the children. And I talk to my clients about their grandchildren, and I'm still going to be there when they set up the junior ISAs and then they're 18, and we're educating them around kind of those types of things and what that opportunity will entail for them. So that's the exciting thing about it. It's about trying to balance out living in the present, working hard, building your business, but also being excited about what's to come in the future. And I think that's, what it should be as an industry, but that's what everyone as a client and anyone who seeks financial advice should be kind of doing as well, is getting that.
I think you absolutely nailed it there. That abundance mindset. There is so much business out there anyway, right? So from your perspective, at 32 years old, chartered financial planning, right? As you just rightfully said, the amount of money that's going to be passed down family to family over the next 10, 15 years is going to be absolutely huge. There's a distinct lack of financial advisors out there, a distinct lack of female financial advisors out there. So that's a huge opportunity for you, as well as the wealth transitions over to more women, more female millionaires over the next few years. 53% are going to be females of millionaires. So there's like a huge amount of opportunity for women coming into the profession. But also that abundance mindset. So for you, like having that purpose, having the ability to change people's lives and have a positive impact in people's lives, that gives you emotional security.
Yeah.
Not to mention financial security, because unless you're absolutely going to be sitting on your ass doing nothing, there is an abundance of money out there, an abundance of financial planning opportunities. So let's think about you from a financial security perspective. There is financial security for you over the next sort of 10, 15, 20, 30 years. There is an opportunity. As long as you work hard, you're going to earn good money as well. And let's not put that to one side. We help others, but there is a return on that means that you yourself have a very secure life as well.
Yeah, but there's no entitlement to that. I think it's about knowing that, you kind of, that comes down to the financial education piece, isn't it? And it's showing kind of clients the information that is tailored to them. Going back to right at the beginning, it's about bespoking that to their circumstance. And most people know what they should be doing. It's about kind of the developing that trust and finding that person that is their accountability buddy, isn't it? In terms of, I will, and the relationship has to be strong, because you have to be able to tell them what they should be doing, and have the trust and the kind of counter kind of trust that they will then act upon that, and that they will go down that route. But from my point of view, it's a hugely exciting industry to be in. And I think moving forward, it's something that I think, and everyone's interested. Not being funny, I meet clients whose sons and daughters, and they're all interested. Everyone wants to make money. So they're and for them, it's about, okay, how do I do that? Whether it's, property, it used to be the buy-to-let properties, didn't it? But now it's, investing and saving. And I think just having that open conversation and getting kind of financial jargon kind of as part of everyone's vocabulary in terms of simplifying it, enables those conversations to be far easier. Moving forward will open up the industry to far more opportunities, both from people coming into the industry as financial planners, but also people kind of seeking advice moving forward.
Danielle, thank you so much for sharing your journeys today and sharing your thoughts around the profession, sharing your career progression as well, being open and honest and realistic about the reasons why you do it and what you like about it. And obviously finishing on there about the positives of the future for yourself within financial planning. So I really, really appreciate it. I think the listeners will get a real feel for that. And that's fantastic. Listen, thank you so much for your time today. And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. And we'll keep in contact.
Thank you so much for having me, Sam. And if anyone has any questions, they can just reach out anyway. Because as you said, part of the mentorship is not just listening to things like this, but it's also how do people kind of I guess filter out and get the confidence they need to move forward as well.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you for sharing it. That's the first start. So thank you so much.
No worries. Take care. Thank you.